The minimum business increment, one of the most important additions, in my opinion, to Disciplined Agile. Hi, I'm Joshua Barnes, the founder of Process Mentors, and welcome to All Things Disciplined Agile. So today we are going to continue on with the series that I started last week. It's a 12-part series of these mini live streams designed to be 10 minutes or less. Last week I covered Transformation Roadmap, and today I start part one of the Minimum Business Increment. And in this first part, I'm going to focus just on the development value stream, and specifically one of the larger problems that I feel that moving to using minimum business increments can help a lot of organizations with. In part two, I'm going to pull in the other value streams, or really kind of value stream segments, into the discussion, and also get into a couple of examples of MBIs. So the first thing I'll start off with is what is a minimum business increment? How can we use this to deliver value sooner? Well, first off, the MBI is a strategy for identifying the smallest amount of work, the smallest thing that we can do next that's going to add value to a customer and something they're going to receive some benefit for. It's a container of information. So by using an MBI and how we are able to bridge communication all the way through the value stream, so upstream, downstream, from potentially where we're at, if we're talking about specifically the development value stream, and how we communicate with the other people that are doing activities to contribute to that value actually being able to be put in the hands of a customer. It includes identifying the value-adding, flow-oriented activities from the development value stream, the operational value stream, as well as the support value stream. And these are things that, again, I'll touch on a little bit more as we get into the second part of this, which is next week's episode. So why use the minimum business increment? Well, one of the things that it does is it helps to provide focus on what that next smallest thing we can possibly do is. So one of the things that we want to see organizations sort of getting in the mindset and then supporting is that the smaller batch of work we can do, more often times, not always, but most often, the better we're going to be. We're going to be able to get feedback from the marketplace quicker. We're going to be able to get feedback from the other people in the value streams quicker. We're going to be able to see how the market responds and should we keep doing things. So the focus that MBIs bring is something that helps out quite a bit. Ensures completeness to deliver that value. So again, it's all of the value adding work, not just development. Easier to sequence the work as the identified increments are the smallest we can do. So when we're looking at creating a business backlog, we're in the product management space, we're trying to be able to break down what are the things we need to do to satisfy an initiative. We're able to do that using MBIs, and we're able to do that with MBIs looking across the multiple value streams that potentially are going to need to have some activity they're contributing to. Understand the capacity of the people that will do the work and start and complete it. So this is work and process management. So again, we don't want to see organizations continuing to pull work when the development team, right, when we're in the development value stream, and get that work completed, and then it just sits, or it is released and we haven't coordinated with maybe something from the support value stream. Marketing is a good example of that. We don't have a marketing campaign ready, and therefore all of the good work that the development team might have done is now not going to achieve its full potential because we didn't coordinate and look at the capacity across all of the people that needed to contribute. The last thing is it provides clarity of what to align around. It's an easier strategy to be able to see the connection between initiatives that would then roll up into something like a strategic objective. Normally, initiatives are going to be too large to be able to implement all on their own. And then as we get down into something pretty small, like a feature all on its own, is something that is really small to be able to see that it's contributing at least to the initiative that it would help achieve in a meaningful way. So that gets me now to the point where I'm going to focus on the rest of today's discussion, which is MBIs can help with a common problem in the development value stream. So let's take a look at a typical annual budgeting cycle. Now, I know not all companies are going to use this, but a lot of the larger organizations, we still see this annual budget cycle where we start typically towards the end of the calendar year, September, October timeframe, which is what I've got in this graph. And we have all the things that have been submitted, business cases or whatever form of information that those are brought into this process. We take a look at last year's budget. We take a look at all of the competing interests of the stakeholders across maybe all of the products that are in a product line or within that value stream. And then decisions are made on which projects are going to be moving forward with next year. So what we might see is something like this, right? As we get into the last year's, which is why I've got the September, October, November, December on to the left, we have ideas, right? Things that are either identified from our stakeholders, requests that are coming in from our customers, and all the way through that time period, in this case, approximately 12 months, what we might see is that all these things are being submitted. Again, we're seeing how things are being identified throughout this period that potentially are going to be done if approved from an annual budgeting process for the next year. So in this example, I've got 5 products that are part of a value stream. We have a lot of ideas that are coming across. And coming out of the annual budgeting process, yeah, we've identified a bunch of projects, right? These projects have a set aside. There's been funding that has been allocated based on the budget process to be able to do a series of projects. Now, for a large organization, we might see here 15, 20 projects. In this example, I'm going to use just the 5. I've got 2 rather large ones and a medium and a couple of smalls. So what happens, right? We get into the new year, we get into January. Oftentimes, executives or senior management is very happy. Hey, it's January. We've kicked off 150 projects, but we might see that it's going to be a long time before any value gets delivered. So in this case, we've got a rather large project. It's being done by this particular team, right? So they're enhancing this existing product. And there's a lot of feature level requirements, plus some other things that would be at a smaller level, right? If we're using an agile approach, we would expect that there's a number of just stories that on their own are also part of this work. But in these larger projects, these larger containers of work that has been approved for a team to do, there's typically a lot of disjointed functionality, right? So all these features might be in various capability areas across these products. And it's from an MBI perspective and a customer journey perspective, we might need to take a look at how features from the big project in blue and a few from the green and the yellow and the orange and the purple all would need to be done so that customer could traverse through their journey and achieve value. So from an MBI perspective, and again, in part 2, I'll show some examples, we could have a lesser complex MBI, or maybe it's just as part of a big project. There's 4 or 5 or 2 or 3 of those features that team could implement. There's no dependencies. There's nothing else from a customer journey perspective that we would need to have completed, and we could just be able to do that work and deploy it. But the example I want to use is a little more complex. And so in this case, what I'm showing is I've circled features that are part of how a customer would be interacting through these various products, or information from an integration perspective that's being passed back and forth. And for that customer to get value, these features, this functionality across these 5 products and the teams that are supporting it would need to get done. So in essence, what I'm showing here, this is an MBI. This is a minimum business increment. If we could just do this work and do it on its own and do it obviously in a much smaller time period, because we'd be focusing on 3 features and 1 feature and another feature, we could do that in a shorter time span and potentially then be able to be in a position, assuming that the work from the other value streams, again, supporting and operational, we're also in a state of readiness that we could release it and our customers could start using it. So the problem that an MBI can solve, especially with respect to this annual delivery cycle, is that we can see how the functionality, the ideas that have come up, the needs or the requests that we're trying to get done for our customer can be packaged into this small container and then worked on in a much shorter time period, right? So we're taking the batch of work, and instead of, again, in the blue project team up there that had all those features, all that work, plus, stories and other things that they would be doing across, an 11-month time period, we're bringing it into a much shorter time period so we can deliver value a lot sooner. And one step further with that is we're able to take a look at our value creation structure. This is one of the things that I'm going to cover in a later episode. But we can look to something either from a ordering perspective of what we'd be doing next. Again, we have a business backlog, how we're identifying a number of MBIs, and then pulling that work to be able to do. In this case, we still have multiple teams that are just doing their contribution to this value in the development value stream. Again, assuming that we've also been able to coordinate from a timeline perspective with the other people in the other value streams, we can deliver value much quicker. If we used a value creation structure that's called a focused solution team, we're potentially going to be able to eliminate a lot of the dependencies across the teams doing this work, be able to not accommodate them, but eliminate them, and have an opportunity to deliver it potentially even sooner. So this is one of the things, the first part that I wanted to share as far as one of the problems in the development value stream that MBIs can potentially solve at the organization that you're at. And with that, I will see if there are any questions. I see, yep, John Ward is here. Glad you're here as well, John. We've got... Here's one: MVP is used for discovery, where MBI should be the increment with value to be delivered to the customer consistently. Yes. So MBIs are an investment to discover if we should move forward with something. MBIs, which again, MVP and MBI sounds kind of the same sometimes, but MBI is what we're trying to do from an expectation of a return on that investment. It's an existing product that we have. It's the next increment of value that we're going to be doing. And many elements of MBIs reflect a lot of what I cover in MOVE, minimal outcome value effort. Absolutely. So this is from TameFlow. Steve Tendon is the creator of TameFlow, and a MOVE is very similar to an MBI. A lot of similarities there. And let's see if there's any other ones here. Nope, we've got Chem. Yep, happy you're here as well. So what I'll ask for anybody that's watching this live that hasn't put a comment in or has a question at this moment in time, or anybody that's watching this on replay, post a question and let's get a discussion going on, and hope to see you at the next episode, which will be at the same time next week. Thank you, everyone.